6 months, that is how long the UFC heavyweight champion of the world has been sitting on the shelf, unable to do the one thing he was put on this earth to do. And now Tom Aspinall has confirmed that his doctors still have not cleared him for contact sparring. The man who is supposed to be the future of the heavyweight division is stuck in limbo, training on bags and pads while 2 other men prepare to fight for an interim version of his belt at the White House. So let's get into exactly what happened to Tom Aspinall's eye, what it means for his career, and why this whole situation has spiraled into something nobody saw coming. On October 25, 2025, inside the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi, Tom Aspinall's first defense of his undisputed heavyweight title ended in chaos at UFC 321, with his battle against Ciryl Gane being ruled a no contest following a brutal double eye poke suffered by the champ with just 25 seconds left in the opening round. Let's set the scene. Aspinall came out fast, wasting no time throwing heavy shots at Gane, but Gane showed no intimidation and stood toe-to-toe while taking command in the center of the cage. Gane used a sharp jab to bloody the champ. When Aspinall took his shot for a takedown, Gane successfully defended it midway through the round. When Aspinall tried to cut off the cage, Gane did a good job of circling out of it. While landing jabs and low kicks, inside the final minute of the round, Gane continued to outstrike Aspinall until his poke to the eye. And then, everything stopped. Aspinall was deemed unable to continue after repeatedly informing cage-side doctors that he could not see, following the grisly poke to both of his eyes. After being examined by doctors, it was determined that Aspinall would be unable to continue, with referee Jason Herzog calling off the fight with just under 30 seconds remaining of the opening round. The bout was ruled the first no contest in UFC title fight history. That sentence alone tells you the magnitude of what happened. In the entire history of the UFC, across hundreds of title fights, there has never been a no contest in a championship bout. Until that night, Aspinall retained his title on paper, but he left that arena in a very different condition than when he walked in. He was taken to the hospital immediately after the incident, undergoing further examinations throughout the ensuing week. Aspinall's father and head coach, Andy, revealed that his son couldn't see out of his right eye. During a video posted to his YouTube channel, his right eye, "He can't see anything," Andy said. "It's just gray. Doctors tested him on words and he just couldn't see anything." His left eye is 50%. It went about 4 letters down the chart, and then he couldn't see letters. Think about that. The UFC heavyweight champion of the world walked out of a fight effectively blind in one eye and half blind in the other, not because he was beaten, not because he was knocked out, because of 2 fingers. Aspinall himself later revealed the terrifying immediate aftermath. "So for the first day I couldn't see anything. I thought I was blind," Aspinall said. "I literally thought I was blind and it was awful." That moment, the moment Tom Aspinall genuinely believed he might never see again, is the moment this story shifts from being about a fight to being about a man's career, his health, and his entire livelihood hanging in the balance. And what came next was arguably worse than the injury itself. After weeks of silence and medical evaluations, the full extent of the damage became clear. Tom Aspinall publicly confirmed the exact medical condition he suffered. After more than a month without comment, Aspinall released specialist documents showing he was diagnosed with bilateral traumatic Brown syndrome, a rare injury that limits upward eye movement when the eye is turned inward. Now, that medical terminology might not mean much on the surface, so let's break it down. The syndrome is a condition associated with restricted eye movement, usually when a person looks inwards. In Aspinall's case, the diagnosis was far more detailed and alarming than just restricted movement. His medical documents stated, following a bilateral eye poke injury sustained during a UFC fight in October 2025, the patient has been diagnosed with bilateral traumatic Brown syndrome, indicating significant disruption to the superior oblique tendon trochlear complex. Clinically, he presents with persistent diplopia in multiple gaze positions, including lateral gaze and up gaze, blurred vision and photophobia following the trauma, marked restriction of elevation and adduction in both eyes, reduction in visual acuity bilaterally, severe bilateral visual field depression on Humphrey visual field testing. That is not a simple eye poke. That is a catastrophic injury to both eyes caused by a foul in a professional fight. Aspinall was unable to see properly, reporting persistent double vision. The severity of the situation cannot be overstated. This is a man who makes his living by reading punches, slipping strikes, and reacting to attacks from some of the most dangerous human beings on the planet. Double vision for someone who sits at a desk is inconvenient. Double vision for a professional heavyweight cage fighter is potentially career-ending. Aspinall was still dealing with a long list of issues following UFC 321. 4 months after the disappointing no contest, Tom Aspinall had undergone double eye surgery. The 32-year-old was hoping to cure several symptoms that had brought his career to a standstill. Beyond the double vision, there were additional troubling complications. He suffered dizzy spells sparked by suddenly changing directions. A recent report had him missing handshakes and getting nauseous during footwork drills. Missing handshakes. The heavyweight champion of the world was missing handshakes because his eyes could not properly coordinate. That detail alone paints a picture of just how compromised his vision truly was. And surgery wasn't straightforward either. Aspinall explained the challenge. It's been a bit of a long process. With other injuries, they just fix them straight away. With eyes, they try to let them. Because it's obviously risky, they try to let them heal naturally. So for months, doctors simply waited, hoping the eyes would repair themselves. They didn't. Aspinall was diagnosed with bilateral traumatic Brown syndrome requiring 2 surgeries. In late December, Aspinall explained how he had already had surgery on one eye, before confirming that a further surgical procedure was planned. Then on February 10th, the fighter confirmed that he had undergone surgery on both eyes. In a social media post, the aftermath of that surgery was raw and visceral. 24 hours later, the 32-year-old shared a photo of his eyes looking badly bloodshot. One day, post-surgery, Aspinall captioned the picture. He added a crying, laughing emoji to show he remains in good spirits despite suffering a career setback. He appeared to be wearing sunglasses, which he pulled up to show 2 eyes which were red and inflamed. The image circulated across social media. The champion's eyes swollen and scarlet, staring back through the screen. And the question on everyone's mind was simple. Will he ever fight again? It's just been a slow process. It's been a nightmare, to be honest, Aspinall admitted. A nightmare. That's the word the UFC heavyweight champion used to describe the last several months of his life. Not a setback, not an inconvenience, a nightmare. Now here's where this story takes a deeply uncomfortable turn, because while Aspinall was dealing with a legitimate medically documented injury that required multiple surgeries, a segment of the MMA fanbase decided he was faking it. After his first official defense of the undisputed heavyweight title ended in controversy at UFC 321, sentiment among a portion of the UFC fanbase appeared to shift. Many fans accused the Brit of exaggerating the injuries he sustained after being poked in both eyes by Cyril Gane, with some questioning whether Aspinall used the incident as a way out of a fight that had proven more competitive than his recent outings. The disastrous main event spawned a swathe of reactions. Some people called Aspinall a quitter, while others labeled Gane a serial rule breaker. Those siding with the champion dug up numerous examples of Gane eye-poking others. Meanwhile, Aspinall's detractors pointed to Gane's early success before the eye poke. It was a bizarre and ruthless split in opinion. On one side, you had people looking at the medical documents, the surgeries, the months of recovery, and recognizing the obvious gravity of the situation. On the other, you had fans, fighters, and commentators suggesting that because Gane was outstriking Aspinall before the poke, the champion must have been looking for a way out. Since UFC 321, Aspinall has embraced more of a heel role after he was booed out of the arena by fans. Some of his fighting colleagues, including TJ Dillashaw and Aljamain Sterling, questioned Aspinall's heart and the severity of his injuries. That criticism stung. Fans switched their opinion of Aspinall, and he has publicly noticed the shift in treatment. People turn on you really quick, Aspinall said, and then there was the situation with Dana White. Things turned a bit frosty between White and Aspinall following the no contest against Cyril Gane at UFC 321. Team Aspinall didn't appreciate White's comments following the fight, after he insinuated the Briton quit. Several critics and experts even accused the heavyweight champion of faking the injury, questioning the legitimacy of the medical reports. Aspinall also received little public support from UFC, and CEO Dana White also made backhanded remarks regarding the fighter's health situation. The tension was palpable. The heavyweight champion felt abandoned by the very organization he dedicated his career to. According to Eddie Hearn, who would later enter Aspinall's orbit, the mental toll was devastating. Hearn revealed that when he first spoke to Aspinall, "I actually couldn't believe how broken his confidence was. He was just so down in the dumps. The difference between that initial conversation and seeing him at the press conference last week was like night and day, a completely different man. He is absolutely buzzing, he just can't wait to get back. Whereas before I found a guy who didn't really want to come back. Let that sink in. The UFC heavyweight champion, a man who'd torn through the division like a wrecking ball, had been beaten down so thoroughly by the public backlash and the perceived lack of support from his own promotion that he didn't even want to come back. Aspinall himself addressed the impossible situation he found himself in. He stated that he was unable to continue the fight because he had temporarily lost his vision, and emphasized that if he had continued and ended up being knocked out, critics would have said that his ego got the better of him and that he shouldn't have gone on. It was a no-win scenario, and Aspinall knew it, but not everyone piled on. To question Tom's toughness is insane. Former bantamweight champion Sean O'Malley said, "No one wanted that more than Tom Aspinall. He wanted to fight. He wanted to fight more than we wanted to watch him fight." Aspinall, meanwhile, had reviewed the footage and arrived at his own conclusions about Gane's intentions. "When I watch the fight back, that is when I get the gist of what is going on. The guy was trying to poke my eyes out all the way through that round. In multiple exchanges, in every exchange I could put him in danger, he had his fingers out pointing at my eyes. The guy was cheating from the first second," Aspinall said. "I think he is a big cheater." Whether or not that accusation is fair, what is undeniable is that the eye poke was real. The damage was catastrophic, and the recovery has been agonizing. While Aspinall was recovering physically and emotionally, something else was brewing behind the scenes, something that would send shockwaves through the combat sports world and further complicate his relationship with the UFC brass. Boxing's civil war spilt over into the wider world of combat sports when Eddie Hearn announced the signing of Tom Aspinall to his new Matchroom talent agency. Aspinall was the first athlete to join Hearn's Matchroom talent agency, an arm of his business which had only existed for a few days. The timing was explosive. The timing was ever more significant given Hearn and White's public back and forth. After Zuffa Boxing signed former Matchroom boxer Conor Benn to a $15 million deal. In other words, Dana White had poached one of Hearn's fighters, and Hearn responded by signing White's heavyweight champion. The combat sports chess match was in full swing. Dana White said he doesn't get Eddie Hearn's move to sign Aspinall to the newly formed Matchroom talent agency. Aspinall signed with Matchroom promoter Hearn in a move that will see him continue to fight in the UFC. While Hearn and Matchroom will look after his business and commercial interests, Aspinall made clear this was a business decision, not a defection. This was just about making my team bigger, as far as media and commercial value and stuff like that. We've just got a really small team, and I wanted to widen that, to grow that. And I believe that Eddie and the guys at Matchroom are the guys to do it with. And the business results were immediate and staggering. Matchroom boxing promoter Eddie Hearn revealed that Tom Aspinall is now generating more income through individual commercial partnerships than one of his UFC fights. This surge in revenue follows Aspinall's decision to sign with the newly launched Matchroom talent agency. Hearn expressed a mix of shock and frustration regarding the disparity between Aspinall's global stardom and his fight night earnings. According to Hearn, Matchroom secured multiple sponsorship and brand deals for Aspinall within just 2 weeks of signing him, agreements that reportedly exceed his recent UFC fight purses. That revelation alone spoke volumes about the state of UFC fighter pay. The heavyweight champion was earning more from commercial deals in 2 weeks than he was earning from actually fighting in the octagon. Hearn didn't hold back in his criticism of how the UFC had handled the situation. He told BBC Radio 5 Live that White basically called him a crybaby and cast him aside, humiliated him in front of everybody, while the guy is having operations to save his eyesight. White, for his part, pushed back firmly. Tom came out recently, his dad too. They felt like I had on them in the way that I spoke about his eye injury, which was absolutely, positively not the case. Tom Aspinall is a guy that I respect. He's great to work with. Never once did I question his injury or speak negatively about him. I said, I think he is okay. I think he is going to be good. And they came out and said, no, that's not the case. If you ask me, do I think Tom Aspinall will fight again? I would say yes. The Matchroom signing also coincided with another seismic development in the UFC. At the UFC's White House event on June 14th, Gane and Pereira will clash over the interim heavyweight title, with the winner provisionally facing Aspinall next. Gane will return for the first time since his meeting with Aspinall in the card's co-main event, where Alex Pereira will try to make UFC history by securing a title in a third weight class and potentially set up a massive showdown with Aspinall. So while Aspinall sits on the sideline waiting for his eyes to heal, the division moves on without him. An interim belt is created, his challenger gets a new dance partner, and the man who poked him in both eyes gets another title shot. And that brings us to the revelation that has set the MMA world buzzing. Aspinall has uploaded a new video in which he confirmed that he is back training regularly, but is still not medically cleared for contact sparring. Tom Aspinall was poked in the eye almost 6 months ago to the day, and still isn't cleared. 6 months, half a year, 2 surgeries, countless doctor visits, and still the green light has not come. In his latest vlog, Aspinall spoke to his fans directly. Welcome back to the channel. I know we've not done one of these for quite some time. Not a lot going on, just been back in the gym, doing a little bit of light training. Still waiting to get fully cleared for contact on my eye, but we are back in the gym, doing a little bit. The footage that accompanied the update showed a man who looks physically ready, but is medically restrained. Video showed Aspinall punching and kicking the heavy bag, doing some pad work, and even some very light takedown and takedown defense drills. Buzzing to be back light training, he commented below the video. He's been cleared for non-contact drills, pads, bags, shadowboxing, but his sparring mitts are still gathering dust. The previous interview with FFTV gave further insight into what the recovery looked like after surgery. I'm starting to train again a little bit now, which is good. I've only recently had surgery, so it was only like 4 weeks ago. But my vision's a lot better than it was before I had the surgery. I just can't get punched for a while. The Brit continued, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. About 4 months without getting punched, which is quite a long time for me. It's the longest I've not been punched for. But there was something encouraging buried within the latest update. Aspinall revealed that the black spot in his vision was fading, then it just started to come back slowly. And then I got stuck with like a black spot in my eye, where it was just black in my vision. That's what the last surgery was for, to try and sort that. That's going less and less every day now, which is great. That's the light at the end of the tunnel. The black spot is fading, his vision is improving. He's training, even if it's limited. Aspinall has been extremely careful regarding his eye treatments, which makes sense because any undue pressure following a treatment could result in permanent damage to his sight. On Friday, Aspinall participated in the Matchroom Boxing Fight Day 5K run with fans and appeared in solid shape. He is physically there. His body is ready. It is his eyes that remain the final barrier. Aspinall has said he is hopeful he will fight before the end of the year. When asked whether he will fight before the end of the year, Aspinall said on the Ariel Helwani show, "I hope so. I hope so. I think so. They're giving me the indication that everything's going in the right direction and improving fast. If it wasn't for the eye injury, Aspinall would most likely be fighting at the historic White House event on June 14th against Alex Pereira. If Pereira claims a victory, he will be fighting for a championship bout next. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with a heavyweight champion who is caught between recovery and irrelevance, between patience and the UFC moving on without him. It leaves us with a man who thought he was blind 6 months ago, who had double surgery on both eyes, who faced a tsunami of public criticism, who signed with his boss's rival, and who is now, right now, grinding his way back to the cage, one pad session at a time. The truth that Tom Aspinall just revealed about his eye isn't that he's done. It isn't that he's walking away. The truth is that he's still not cleared, and the clock is ticking. The interim title fight is in June. The division is moving, and Tom Aspinall is left doing what he's been doing for 6 months, waiting. But the signs point forward. The vision is getting better. The training is ramping up. UFC insiders hint at a potential late summer showdown, possibly around August. His final date will depend on medical clearance and octagon availability. Tom Aspinall isn't finished. He's just not finished healing yet, and when those doctors finally give him the green light, the man who once thought he'd lost his vision forever will step back into the octagon with a fury that only someone who's been counted out by fans, by critics, by the very promotion he fights for could possibly carry. That's the truth about his eye, and that's what makes what comes next one of the most compelling stories in the UFC right now.